Lately, I have seen several YouTube videos talking about if this Sony A1 is worth in 2023 and if it is even considered to be outdated at this point. Well, I have some thoughts about it.
Can't get enough.
Welcome back to the channel. Today I will be talking a brief, just my impressions of using the Sony A1. At this point, there's already tons of videos on YouTube, tons of reviews going in depth with all the camera features, so I'll leave that to the pro guys that have done already that job. So here's just my opinion about this camera. So a little bit of background and why I got this camera. So before I had this, I was using my Sony A7S III, which I'm using right now to record this video, and I also had a Sony A7R4. So one camera for photos and one camera for video. So I was thinking then that I wanted a one camera body that could do both photos and videos. The A7 IV was an option, but honestly, I saw that it had some compromises on the video side. So, at that point I was like, so I can probably save a little bit more money than sell my A7R4 and then get the A1, which I did. And I didn't buy this camera at retail price. I didn't get it brand new. I got it used in eBay. So, and I got it for 4,500. So I think that's it's still expensive, but that's a pretty good deal coming from 6,500, which is the original price tag when you buy it brand new. So yeah, I think this is one of those cameras that you can pick up and then you want to, like, I want high resolution photos, boom, there you go. I want 4K 120, there you have it. So yeah, like one camera to rule them all, basically. I mean, that's why it's called the Alpha 1. I had it since April, so this is a pretty good point to like have like a pretty solid opinion about this camera for me. I'm not a professional, I just like doing this as a hobby. So yeah, I'm gonna go straight into my samples here on my computer, which I have this the screen recording. Okay, so let me just open this up. Let me see if I can do this while also getting the audio clear. Okay, so here we have some samples. This is from Arches. We were in Utah, in Salt Lake City, back in the summer in June, and yes, you can see like these pictures. Like, let's be honest, most of the cameras nowadays, even the phones, they take great pictures. But I think having a high resolution camera does give you a lot of leeway when it comes to like if you want to crop and like recompose your shot. So I think that's a benefit of having a camera like this. So yeah, there's not much to say. This is like wallpaper quality. Like the details are just amazing. Like you can zoom in and still keep a lot of the details. So yeah, I also went to a school trip that I used to teach at before, and they did a Europe tour. So yeah, this is some low light example. Like here, I didn't manage. This is user error. The autofocus here for me wasn't good, but it was my fault. And yeah, we had like a flamenco night in one of these cities, and I was on the way back in the audience, so I just took out my 200 to 600, which, by the way, most of these pictures were taken on the, of course, the A1, and the lenses were a 200 to 600, a 50 millimeter G Master f1.2, and a 16 to 35, which I'm recording this right now. So all Sony native lenses. So yeah, 200 to 600 on these examples. So yeah, you can see like the detail. It was pretty much like almost like the lighting wasn't pretty good. I mean, where they were performing, it was decent enough to get the pictures. So yeah, but everything pretty sharp. The details pretty good. I have many favorite ones from this trip. This is one of them. I just was moving the camera for this outreach concert that we did in one of the cities in Spain, and there was just this one participant of the school band that she was just waving the flag at that moment, and it was a solid opportunity, and this is like magazine type of photograph. So yeah, pretty proud of this one. And yeah, also one of the capabilities of this camera, like it has 50 megapixels, so like you can crop and recrop whatever you want. And like this one, I already all these pictures are already edited, so these are not, some of them are not, so I'll get to them. But yeah, this one was a vertical shot, as you can see here, and I just made it like into a landscape type of photo. So yeah, the detail is still there, pretty sharp. Another one of my favorites is this picture here, which is an action shot. One of the pieces in the from the school band, and yeah, this one was taken with the 50 millimeter G Master. I love that lens because it is so sharp. Like you can punch in and just keep the details. It's pretty darn good. And I was pretty far away. And yeah, it's just like it's it's that good. This was from when I got back to work in September when we went to Las Vegas. Some RC photos. Yeah, what can I say? Pretty darn good. So I have some examples here that I had straight from camera, then edited them. This is one of them. This was back in Sacramento in a park, some bird photography, and this is the edited one. So yeah, not much. I just tweak around with the highlights, contrast, and just give it some more pop in the with the colors. Here's another one of a magpie, and this is the edited one. So yeah, a lot that you can play around with the quality of what this camera can do. And one of the samples here with the cropping was with this picture. I already think I used the crop mode in the Sony A1. That's one of the features of the camera, that you can use an APS-C crop to punch in further. So it will turn a 600, so 200 to 600 at the rear end, the 600 millimeter. It would turn into a 900 millimeter, and even then it wasn't like close that I wanted to for this blue heron. So I crop here in Lightroom and just tweak around with the colors, and yeah, that's the benefit of having high resolution photos all the time. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about the autofocus in this camera. And I haven't used one of the other features of this camera, which is the 30 FPS mode, which is pretty insane because I think that's more for like sports, birds in flight type of scenarios. So I feel like the autofocus kept pretty darn good on this camera. So like this is, yeah, I took some shots and these are like not even bursts. This is just a single shot and the autofocus would just nail it most of the time. I mean, the camera does 120 calculations, autofocus calculations per second, which is insane, and like it never misses. Okay, and before we get into video, I just wanted to talk about one of my, this is a small tiny little detail, but it's when it comes to taking pictures, I love the shutter sound in this camera. Like just listen to it. It's so subtle and it's just makes it really great taking pictures with this. And then if in case you were wondering, like the 30 FPS option, I mean right now I have a slow memory card on here, so it is still writing the pictures, but yeah, that's basically the sound that it makes. Just gonna leave it there, just basically writing like 30 or 40 pictures of just black screen. I want to get now into the video part of this camera. So this camera is basically an A7S III in terms of the video features. It also does 8K, which I haven't used. I have an example here that I took, but it's not that noticeable. I mean, for me, like it's, yeah, more sharp, but yeah, nothing drastic, I think. So yeah, here I have some bird samples that I took, some nice smooth 4K 120, and this was the first time that it was the first day I got the camera. So I just went out in my mother's and stepdad's backyard, and they have like this whole wildlife setup to capture birds. So it was pretty fun. So here we have it. Pretty darn nice. I'm just trying to find here one of my favorite shots. It's probably this one. Like yeah, this is straight from camera, like, and the colors just look amazing. This is no picture profile, this is just out of the box camera settings, and it looks pretty darn good. So I have another example here, another low light example, which I think most people will be interested in seeing how this how the A1 performs in low light when it comes to video. Let me see if I can find it. It's right here. Let me turn the volume down. So yeah, this is from that concert that we did in Salamanca that I was showing the pictures before. And this is handheld with the 200 to 600. And what can I say? Like, I mean, I did apply, like this was shot in S-Log 3. I already graded it. It's a little bit oversaturated, I would say. But yeah, low light, like, and it does pretty well. I did apply some stabilization in Final Cut, and it looks great. There's some weird artifacting like with the movement stuff going on, but I think I was like barely trying to hold that lens, which is it is a chunky boy. But yeah, pretty darn good. So yeah, those are my samples from for videos. Like, I wanted to keep this video about, I mean, this is not more than a review, it's just my use case that I've been having with this camera. So yeah, in conclusion, so how does this camera stand in this day and age, especially for Sony, which we know right now they have the A7R5, they have the Sony CVE1, they have the Sony A9 III. So yeah, all these new cameras with this new hardware and new AI autofocus. So I would say that those cameras, they are pretty much centric to like either photo or video, which the Sony A1 in contrast is more of a hybrid. And yeah, this is more a camera that it leans more in the photography side, but I would say that it is the, I can say honestly, it's the king of hybrid cameras when it comes to Sony, at least. So yeah, I mean, and you can take great videos with the Sony A7R5. That camera does 8K. You can take great video also with the A9 III, which has a ton of like crazy new features. And you can take decent pictures with a Sony CV1, which is basically a video camera. But I still think that if you consider this camera on the used market, it costs, it's right now rounding between 4 and 5K, which is pretty good coming from 6,500 retail price. I guess this is a solid and viable option. And you gotta remember that, I mean, 4,500, which was the price that I paid for this, it is expensive. But you have to also consider the fact that this is, you're basically buying two camera bodies at least with this one. It is basically a combination of an A7R4, an A7S III, and an A9 Mark II. Like, it is a fast camera with these burst options. And what else can I say? I mean, it's just that good. And I mean, right now the A9 III is going for $6,000, which is pretty much just 500, and you can get the A1. And I know the A9 III has more like newer, I mean, the global shutter stuff looks something that many people will take advantage of, and like the new AI autofocus things that Sony is coming up right now. And still, like, the autofocus in this camera is amazing. Like, I don't know, I know people have been complaining, I mean, not complaining, but mentioning how like the newer cameras have better autofocus than the A1. And you know, they sound as if they were saying that the autofocus in this camera is not good, but it's still pretty darn good. Like, my first Sony camera, I mean, my first camera was a Lumix G7, but then I jumped into a Sony A7 III, which was pretty good in the autofocus department. And like, yeah, I had no complaints. And whenever the autofocus misses, then it is a situation that is basically user error. So yeah. So yeah, and we know that probably next year or in 2025, Sony's gonna come out with the A1 Mark II, which is the updated version of this camera. And I cannot even imagine like the features that camera's gonna have are gonna be insane. But dare I say that right now, and even then when that updated version of the A1 comes out, I think this camera is still gonna be a solid option. That, I mean, right now, even right now, it's more than enough for me. I just wanted to just have one camera body that could do both photo and video exceptionally well. So yeah, that will be all for this video. Thanks for watching. Comment, subscribe. What do you think about the Sony A1? And I'll see you on the next video. Peace.